Hi and welcome to Counting Coral Chats. I'm Jolien Collier and I will be your host for today's interview. Here at Counting Coral, we like to reach out and interview people from all walks of life. Some folks are about ocean conservation and others can be marine biologists, scientists, and just your average person doing extraordinary things. We are always looking for people to join us in one of our chats. If you are interested in what we do and you would like to be on our show, you can email us at connect@countingcoral.com. So please sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Hi, and welcome to Counting Coral Chats with Uma Kurdukar. Uma is a recent graduate of the New School with a Master's in Media Management. Being a huge enthusiast of world cultures, Uma has a passion for saving the planet. She wants to give people a personal reason to save the world that we live in. Hi, Uma, and how are you today?
I'm very good. How are you?
Oh, fantastic. Thank you so much for joining us. I think we're just going to jump in with some questions straight away. So I'm curious. So you're an intern with us, as I know this. But you know, what are you aspiring to be as a professional? What's your kind of profession, and what do you do?
So I was always a big fan of content creation. I started taking pictures when I was in 8th grade. I don't know how old I was that time. I suck at calculating age. But taking photos, taking videos, all of that was always a side hobby. And when I moved to New York 2 years ago, I enrolled in grad school for media management, and it sort of just took the way into social media, even though technology and I have a bit of a clash because it scares me, honestly speaking. I haven't seen a single episode of Black Mirror because it's so freaky. But I kind of directed my career towards social media because I guess according to my morals and my principles, even though it's so much it's social media has its positives and negatives, and I want to use the positive side to kind of create content and inspire people to do things. I feel like I have a personality to motivate people to do to take action, to do something, and just take action overall. So I kind of directed my career towards content creation, combining my hobby with a platform that lets me inspire people. So that's kind of the direction in which I'm going. I mean, I just graduated, so I'm still just kicking off my career right now.
Well, congratulations on your graduation. That's fantastic. So I know you have created some wonderful content for us, which we'll pull up into the screen just in a minute so people can see that. And you worked on the Time Clock project in New York with one of our other interns, Hussein. Tell us a little bit about that, because that was kind of the infield. You were out and about meeting people with masks. How did you feel with that? Was it safe for you? And give us a general kind of insight to that day, because the content was fantastic. We've got a lot of people engaging in that content. So that was a super special thing you guys did for us. So would you tell us a little bit about it?
Yeah, I think the overall experience was amazing. For me, filming, going to locations and filming, it was a bit it has always been a bit awkward for me when it comes to interacting with people, stopping people on the street and hey, do you mind answering a few questions for us? We're doing this. Because it's you're stopping someone on the way to probably doing something important, but you still have to take that risk because you're also creating something valuable, which is in the future going to help them, or in some way or the other. So it was very interesting, especially doing it in the middle of a pandemic. We definitely had masks on. We were making sure, there was proper social distancing and everything. But it was a little, it was so weird that we had to film during such a time, because we had to keep reminding ourselves that we are in the middle of a pandemic, so we can't just go into the flow of filming how we would do under normal circumstances. But so it was a challenge, kind of trying to drive on the other side of the road, I mean, when I drive here, I have to remind myself to stay on the right side because we drive on the left side in India. So it was like that. It was a conscious reminder to keep, to make sure that I am safe, Hussein was safe, and the people we were interviewing were also safe while talking, like, while doing the interview. And I mean, filming, oh my God, the topic, the climate clock, it was such a huge like weight on my head. Like it still is, because that is like one of my biggest concerns. And I feel like my personal reason for being involved in like in taking action for climate change is the fact that we have such little time left. So it was a great project.
So for those people who don't know about the time clock, could you explain why you were there and what the content was around and about?
Yeah, so the climate clock was put up during Climate Week, and it was just up for a week. And the clock basically signified the number of years, months, and days, and I think hours and minutes and seconds left until we have permanent damage done. So basically, when it's permanent damage, so obviously you can't fix it. So we have only 7 years left to fix it. And if like it was put up in such an obvious way so that people understand what clock is actually ticking and how much time they have left to do something to save their own futures. But a lot of people, like, even though it was Climate Week and everything, not a lot of people are aware of what is happening in the world, like in terms of the climate crisis, because everybody has, their day-to-day life, and especially in a city like New York, where everyone is so consumed in their own lives, they don't have time to think about all of these things. So that was a great display, like something that definitely brought attention to the issue.
Yeah, and were people, for the most part, the people you're interviewing, did they understand why the clock was there?
Yes, definitely. Like, I mean, we first asked them, do they know what the numbers signified? And thankfully, a lot of the people that we interviewed knew what it was. So we were like happy that I think we just came across one or two people who didn't know exactly what it was, but it's completely fine, because this is like a learning process for everyone. And we're glad that we were able to tell them what is actually happening.
Yeah, no, you guys did a fantastic job. And for anybody who's looking, you can see that video on our YouTube channel, Counting Coral. So please feel to jump over there. And for any other videos coming up or interviews you'd like to look in on, you can subscribe to our channel and hit the notification button, and you'll get notified as we premiere these interviews with various different peoples around the world. So my next question is, it seems like this is going to be your career move. Is it going to be your career move?
Yeah, definitely. As in, you mean like working towards climate, like climate justice, right?
Yeah. Why? I mean, why did you choose this career? Is this the career path that you think you're going to stay on? You've just graduated, so we have many hopes and dreams when we're young and we're going out into the world. Is this where you're going to align yourself for some time?
Yeah, I mean, at least for the next 7 years. Let's see what happens after those 7 years. Like,
well, the clock's ticking.
Clock is ticking. So for now, I have the capacity to do something about it. So at least for as long as I can, for as long as this particular method of motivating people works, I will continue doing this. And then after that, obviously you have to change your time. So if there's anything new that comes in that's gonna help me continue educating people about this particular issue, then I will definitely continue, like switch to that and like make sure I'm aware of all the changes in, technology. Basically, that's my only weapon.
No, it's a great weapon. I mean, content creation is a fantastic thing. People are really responding to visuals. Obviously, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, all these are all like rich content platforms that provide imagery or video content. So it's a great way to keep pushing that message out there. So how are you using all these skills to promote climate justice? How does that work? So just for people that don't understand, how does that work?
So let's start with like this one eye-opening incident that I had a couple of years ago. So I'm not a huge fan of reading books, but my dad kind of made me read this book called The Power of Your Subconscious Mind. And it made sense. Like I'm not the type to, I'm not a spiritual type of a person or anything. And I've noticed that a lot of people who follow like, the spirituality path believe in this. So I read the book out of curiosity, and it said that whatever is on the front end, so basically your conscious mind, it works based on what's in your subconscious mind. And that makes so much sense. So it's like, if you look at your mind, it's kind of like a website, right? So whatever you put on the back end of your website, that's what appears on the front end. So the back end of a website is your subconscious mind. I mean, you are the website.
Yeah.
The subconscious mind is your subconscious mind is the back end, and your conscious mind is like, the website, basically. So whatever you kind of incorporate into your subconscious mind, that comes forward. And I have been like trying to, okay, so social media, as you know, whatever content we consume, it eventually seeps into our brains.
Yes.
So it's a great, like, people are getting influenced like in some way or the other through social media, or through not just social media, any type of content that they're consuming on the internet, on television, whatever it is, wherever it is. But the key point here is that the content that's being created is what's influencing people. So I want to create that content that will seep into their brains and make it kind of like a subconscious habit to be aware of their actions. So if you're gonna, if you're not in a room and the light is on, then it should be a subconscious habit to switch off the light when you're leaving the room, or like turn off the tap when you're brushing your teeth. A lot of people leave their taps on and the water's just running and going down the drain. So, making it a subconscious habit to switch, like turn it off when you're brushing and only turn it on when, you want to use it. So that's how I've been trying to do it, and that's how I want to continue doing it till as long as it's working, and then switch to whatever works next.
Well, I know that you're absolutely right. This content does permeate our brains, and the more content that's placed out there does have a place in the subconscious that is called upon in certain action steps during the day, whether it is cleaning the teeth. Oh yeah, turn the tap off. It's constant training that we have been indoctrinated for many years to do certain actions. We now have to change the script for ourselves and digest this dialogue more and more. And I think that's at the forefront of most people's consciousnesses these days, because every single news outlet is on about climate change and what you can do, and all the various steps. And it's fantastic. And I applaud you for committing to do that, because it's working, because you've got me going on a few things like, wow, that's just still railing in my head, especially with the mask video that you did as another piece of content that you produced. Was, people don't understand that these masks end up in the trash bin, or end up on the floor, or end up in a beach, and a lot of them have the little loop that goes around it. And your simple suggestion was to cut the loop at the very minimum, because birds are getting trapped, fish are getting trapped, and all sorts of crazy stuff is happening just because of the quantities of masks. So let's talk about that little video for a second there, because that was pretty cool and very clever that you put that together. What inspired you to do that? Was it just piles of masks everywhere in New York, or what was it?
That actually, I came across a post on social media. This was actually very random, because because of how the algorithm works, I never thought a post like that would end up on my explore feed, like on Instagram. It was literally a post that said that it was a picture of I think a duck, and it had like the strings of the mask like tied up, like its feet were like tied up, or in a very terrible way, so it couldn't move.
Yeah.
And it said that, literally cut off your strings. Like, is it that much of an effort for you guys to cut your strings off while disposing the mask? And I realized that, like, it never struck me that something like that could happen. And like, obviously, like, there's so many things I don't know about, disposing of trash, because it's so different here than it is back home in India. So I saw that and I was like, okay, this is a great idea, because I mean, not a lot of people know that a thing as simple as the masks, or like the strings of your masks, can stop, like, choke an animal or kill an animal. It's just a string. It's not even about them eating it or anything. It's just they're tied down because of the string, and what if like a predator attacks them, or if they get run over by a car, or whatever it is. So these are simple things, and I thought it would be a great idea to put out these like small things which kind of go unnoticed, because honestly, you notice when the light is on because you can see it, but you don't notice what the strings of a mask can do because you don't see it, you don't realize it, you can't imagine it.
Yeah, back in the early 90s, there was a big campaign against the plastic holders for Coca-Cola cans. You have a six-pack and there's those plastic rings around them. Well, people would just pull the cans out and they would throw that away. And birds, they would float on the sea surface, and birds diving down for fish would dive down and get their heads trapped in these plastic things. So there's a massive campaign to cut the rings, and now we're in just another example of that, where we have to now cut strings and take care of our environment by these simple, basic steps that we just don't think about. You didn't, I didn't. You presented that video. I said, "Wow, yeah, I had no idea." Even I knew about the rings for the Coca-Cola cans. It was brilliant, and I appreciate that. So look, everybody has their own personal views of how to save the planet, or their own personal stories about that. I certainly have mine with Coral, being an ocean person and a diver and a surfer. What is yours? What's your personal reason for diving into
so I don't think I could call it my own personal reason. This is something that applies to everyone, but a lot of people just don't see it. So I'm 24 years old now. Okay, I just finished, wrapped up all of my lifetime worth of academics, and now I can focus on my career and doing the things that I like in my life and everything. So I'm only 24 years old. If 10 years ago, if you would have asked me what do I imagine my future to be like, just like every 15-year-old girl, 15-year-old girl would have said, oh my God, married with the giant house and like 100 kids playing around and a million dogs and whatnot. So I pretty much had the same dream, and like these last couple of years, learning about these different types of like natural events or other like environment related crises that are happening, like wildfires, there are floods, there are oil spills, all of this that's happening. And like now that like I don't have any picture, because I don't know if I'm even going to be alive to see that happen. So it really like hit me, because I'm only 24. Like, do I really want to die by the time I'm 30 and something, because of something that I could have so easily controlled? Like not just me alone. Like so like this is why I am doing it, but this is the story of every single person or every single living being on this planet, not just humans. I'm pretty sure even animals feel that way. So but just unfortunately they can't do anything because they're not spoiled with so many things like we are. So if like I see I have a big family, so I see my nephews and nieces, they're just like 10, 11 years old, literally. And I keep wondering, okay, when is that meteor going to hit the planet? Or when is like 2012 going to happen, where there's like these giant waves coming up and like, the earth is opening up and we're all falling into it? When is that going to happen? Is it going to happen today? Is it going to happen today? So I'm kind of living with that fear that I can't picture that with the fear that I might not even have a future. So is it even going to be worth it planning, dreaming and like getting all my hopes up and everything, that, oh, you know what, by the time I'm 30, or like, okay, by the time I'm 35, I'm going to get this beautiful golden retriever and we're going to live on this amazing farmhouse? Is it even worth it to make these plans if nobody's doing anything to save the planet that's going to help me make these, live these plans? So this is just something I realized, but like this is the story of every single person that's out there, and they just don't realize it because they everyone is so consumed in their daily lives that they don't realize how big the picture actually is and how much it's going to directly affect them.
Yeah, I understand exactly what you're saying. It's hard to plan these days for a future that you thought was just set out. You could pick a path, whichever one you wanted, and you could mosey along that path, and there's a few twists and turns in life, some ups and downs, but you pretty much could plan it out. And I've been fortunate enough to be a little bit older than you, and I've planned out my life, and here I am, retired now, putting all my efforts into coral reef because I'm understanding that message loud and clear. And it is about, passing this on to younger generations like yourself that don't have to stress about it. And we did an interview with Aria a little while ago, and she has had the same sentiment. She's only 17 years old, and she's just terrified for the future. And it's so sad to think that this is now in your consciousness, that you cannot be able to see that future for yourself because it's a moving target. Is all the rainforest going to be chopped down, which changes the weather pattern in India where you might be staying, or New York, and we're having more floods, and it's just chaos across the board. So I think more and more people do need to get onto this ideology that we've all got to participate in this, and I commend you for taking this path. But the biggest issue that I have is, how do you motivate these people? So you have this person that's going on about life, blissfully unaware, right? Then all of a sudden there's a time clock. Oh, well, that's a motivation. How do you personally feel like you could motivate people to do this? Obviously, you're doing this through content, but outside of content or inside that envelope of content?
Well, right now, like even I have been consumed with my life. But now that I have the academics out of the way, where I can 100% dedicate myself to doing, not just, obviously not just content creation, but like I want to volunteer at organizations. And it's not just me, but honestly, it starts with my first circle in my network. So I want to take my, like at some point, like maybe next year or like in 2 years, I want to take my friends to like experience the things that I experienced as a child. So my parents were members of the Rotary Club. So growing up, they had like a lot of monthly social and environmental impact projects going on. And I was, I just wanted to do something. So I would go with them. And I was learning a lot in the process, obviously. But that kind of like it embedded itself in my brain that, okay, I have to do it. And, I have to do something for our planet and the people and the animals. So I feel like a lot of my friends didn't have that experience. Like obviously they love dogs, they have pets, they have birds and whatnot at home, but they can't picture it beyond that, like beyond their pets. So maybe in the future I would like to take them to like an animal rescue center, or like somewhere where they see the truth behind how animals are treated. Or like obviously they see it in the news and they're like, oh my god, this is so sad, this shouldn't happen. But they're seeing it in the news, they're not seeing it live, they're not hearing it from someone who's experienced an animal go through something terrible like poaching. So it starts with like these simple steps, and I want to start with them. And then, like, I don't know, honestly, I have plans of like working at like an animal rehabilitation center or something, either in India or like in Africa or in South America, somewhere where I'm doing something, like kind of start like a trust, like these shelters, and bring my family members and my people in, and then like grow the network that way. But it's so much right now, and like I have to start with baby steps. I'm literally hammering into my friends' heads that, okay, don't use single-use plastic, don't do it. If you do it, I'm not going to talk to you. It's like, a little bit of emotional blackmail, because they're my friends and I can do that with them. I can't do it with other people. They'll just be like, I don't know you, why are you emotionally, I mean, you can't do that to me because I don't know you, it's not going to affect me. But this, like, I'm trying to find ways to get my immediate circle to be involved in this, so that it's like I know that I have that 100% backup around me, that my friends are also doing this, so I can, with their help, I can also promote this more, like help more people, help reach out to more people.
No, I agree, and that's a fantastic, admirable thing. And India definitely has its issues when it comes to animals, even though they're revered as gods in many parts of India. There is some issues with animal cruelty, and obviously all those different things. So yeah, so where do you see yourself living? You're in New York right now. Are you going to be moving back to India? Where do you see yourself?
I have no idea. Let's
No
see.
idea.
No idea. Let's see how it goes. I mean, yeah, no, I have no idea.
I can do that. So,
yeah.
Sorry, go ahead. What were you going to say?
No. I was just gonna say, like I've chosen a career that doesn't require me to be in an office, so I can just work from anywhere. So I don't know, maybe going back to India, working, doing some volunteer work at some shelters, or I don't know. I've been in India for too long, so maybe some other country.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, as a young person, speaking to young people, any advice you could give them in terms of just day-to-day actions that they might be able to take, or how they might be able to communicate these issues to other young people? Any type of advice you could pass on before we end the interview?
Just one thing, that just ask yourself this question. What does your future look like? Because that's what I asked myself, and it really brought that clarity that I needed to, decide that, okay, I have to focus on saving the planet. So just ask yourselves that question, read up about the current climate crisis, and just think about whether you really want to be lazy in switching off that light or turning off the faucet. Or, are you really going to be lazy about carrying a mug from home to take to drink coffee? Or are you just going to, be lazy? I mean, are you going to continue being lazy, or are you going to take the efforts to actually do something?
Well, that's sound advice, and I'll take that advice, even though I try my best. So we all just try our best. And I think in this world of consumerism, it's really, really difficult to even stop consuming just basic stuff, like your friends encouraging them to not use single-use plastic. So we go to the store, we have our reusable bags. Sometimes we forget them, and we're at the line going, "No, we've ruined the planet. We forgot the bags." So we're all human, right? So we do our very best, and I would personally encourage everybody to do that and take those small action steps. And once those small action steps, much like you were saying in the subconscious, those small action steps are then planted. So then you can move on to different steps and evolve those steps to be a bigger and better plan for yourself and everybody else around you, right?
Yeah, definitely. That's what I've moved on to now, like the bigger steps. I conquered the smaller ones. Now it's time for the big ones.
Well, Uma, I can't thank you enough for all the work you do for our organization. And I really do appreciate you taking the time out of your day to have a chat with us. And we'll look forward to interviewing you in the future. Hopefully before the end of your intern, we'll do another interview to see what else you've created for us. So once again, thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Counting Coral relies on public support. If you would like to donate to Counting Coral and help out with the coral crisis, please see the link in the comments section if you are on YouTube, link in the bio if you're on Instagram, link in the post section if you're on Facebook or LinkedIn. The best way to follow us for Counting Coral Chats is to subscribe to our YouTube channel.